Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Charlie Tolhurst Show for today, the 17th of September. Can't believe we've only got a couple of weeks now till October. My goodness. I'm back refreshed from a short break this week to Haven. So I'm back here in my standard living quarters doing a show, and I'm joined by late party supporters. Zach from Always News. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
So, yes, back and refreshed. Let's get on with the news. We're going to start now this week with, of course, the news which we've all been talking about this week. It's been on our screens. It is, of course, the Queen's, Queen Elizabeth II's passing. But, of course, the new King Charles III, as he's now called, King Charles III, formerly known as Prince Charles. He's been touring the UK. He's gone to the UK House of Commons. Parliament in London, also been to the Northern Ireland Assembly as well. I think he's also been to Wales. I think he's been across the UK this week. Let's just say that. Charles has made a series of speeches promising that he will deliver unity, also saying as well that he feels deeply saddened after his mother's death last Thursday. I have to say, it is a huge shock that we've all felt across the UK this week, with, of course, the Queen's passing, Elizabeth II, who served our country for 70 years, and now Charles has got to stand in her footsteps. Now, this week alone, there has been queues of up to 22 hours. Of course, people that are visiting the Queen's coffin in London right now. It will be buried at Westminster Abbey, or in Westminster on Monday. Celebrities such as David Beckham and many others attended. However, though, we'll come on to later on exactly a couple of queue jumpers that unfortunately caused a bit of mayhem for the general public. Zach, what did you take away from this week's news from the new King Charles III?
What did I take away? Well, I think first of all, we have seen. I have to say what a historic occasion it is. Sorry, I'm just cleaning my camera out there. We've just seen what a historic occasion it has been this week in terms of the ceremony and the history and stuff that we've never seen in 70 odd years. Some of the stuff that we've been seeing, the history of the pompous, or the coffin going around. It's been one of those weeks. As well, we've had a new king go across the country, meet and greet loads of people, which is great to see, especially because the King Charles is making quite an impression early on with the amount of people obviously trying to be in the public eye, but also I think as well, trying to hide his grief in some ways. There's supposed to still a lot of grief up there. He had I think it was a private day on Thursday. Just had a bit of time to himself up in I think it was Gloucestershire somewhere where his other home was, as well. But we've also seen, I think, the best of the British people this week. I have to say, the absolute best. You've seen many people queue up to view the coffin in Westminster Hall of the beloved Queen, and the way most people, literally 99.9% of people, have shown respect and have done their duty to pay tribute to our greatest monarch that we've ever had in such a way that I personally couldn't even cope waiting some of the time normally. And the thing is, Charlie, we in the UK hate queues. We absolutely hate whether it's been stuck on the M25, the roads getting we hate being stuck in a queue. It's a British tradition to hate these sorts of things, and we're loving being stuck in a queue this week. It's only worth it for a minute, but my goodness, everyone seems to love it now. And the whole reason is, just to see our Queen for the last time. Oh, I mean, we're going to see our Queen for the last time on Monday, but it's just to see the sighting of the coffin and where she lies to rest is quite spectacular, and quite a rather sad sight in many ways, as well. But we've done, many of the general public have done their duty. Another one I've been happy with, David Beckham. Wow, 12 hours deciding, not as a celebrity just to go in like the rest of them, decide to skip because they're all famous and everything like that. David Beckham waited 12 hours, just like the rest of the general public, got in the queue, and then paid his minute of tributes. It was spectacular. And fair play to King Charles as well, and the rest of the rest of the Queen's grandsons, who stood behind the coffin this week for 15 minutes as their patriotic duty, and stand behind their coffin, in front of the vigil, and do what everyone in the military and an army have been doing as their warm up, and stand there for 15 minutes with their head down, just thinking about their mother. We've seen the best of British this week, I have to say, from the crowds, to literally everything I've seen this week has been. We've all come united as a country, in many good ways, to respect our late monarch, and it's been an incredible sight. It really has been.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's a big news story for everyone, and I have to say, I think a lot of people this week paying their respects, and we all know exactly what things are happening. We know, I must know all the thoughts and feelings we've had. Obviously, all this week you've seen news presenters wearing black suits, all black attire, in memory of the Queen. I mean, it's just like, you don't usually see presenters wearing, like, you go on a station like, I don't know, BBC, they all wear suits, but not the black ones.
No.
Black is a funeral suit. You wouldn't hardly see people wear it. Black ties. It's an emotional suit. It's a suit that connects sorrow, loss, and everything. So Queen Elizabeth II brings a lot. And so, Zach, what have you made this week to all the journalists wearing black suits? Because I bet for them it must be very difficult having to cover all this news.
Oh, it's obviously extremely difficult, I think, Charlie. We saw, like, last week when the Queen's death was announced, the likes of like Vanessa Feltz getting emotional on the air on Talk TV and Talk Radio. It's obviously hard to them to see someone that they love so much, having to break the news on air. It must be really hard for them. It really is hard for them, and understandably so. It's not an easy thing to break on air. It's like your biggest moment in your career, having to break the news of the Queen's royal death on air. It's not something that you want to do, but it's something that you have to do. And everyone, from what I've watched, everyone who has been on air has done a great job throughout the week. Everyone, they've set all their personal politics aside, some of the others that I'm talking about, but all the news channels, all the presenters have done brilliantly this for the last few weeks, as well. And it's going to come to its head on Monday, when we have obviously the state funeral of our beloved monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, which is going to be an extremely emotional day. You look at what the TV channels are doing. You like
rolling news coverage.
ITV are literally taking all their channels off their CITVs, their IT2s, IT3, IT4 off there, merging it all into. They're all going to show the same coverage, which is the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, as well, which is something unprecedented. Sky are doing the same on all their channels. They're taking all their channels off air and only showing one, which is Sky News for that day. They're taking all that off air, to show the Queen's funeral. Channel 4 are doing things a little bit differently. They're doing more somber, more real-based programming. I think Channel 5 is doing kids programming that day as an alternative, rather than their usual billings. So, people, obviously channels will do it. It would just put what they want on in a way that I think is appropriate to their audience. So that's why we're seeing the likes of BBC, ITV, Sky, all the major broadcasters do what they're going to be doing.
Mm.
I mean, big deal even in the US, Charlie. It's a massive deal there. They're like all the channels are going to be taking in America are taking coverage of the Queen's funeral there as well. It is a big deal in America as well. I imagine Australia taking those. And just to tell you how big it is, like I think it was 100 representatives from. I think it's 100 countries are sending representatives to the Queen's State funeral. We know likes of Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau are all there in the UK, or well, either traveling already in the UK to pay their respects.
Mm.
It's going to be, I believe, the biggest television event in the world on Monday. Like, there's an estimated 4 billion people that are going to be watching Her Majesty's funeral. I can't imagine the viewing figures here in the UK is going to probably break some records. I don't know how many viewers are going to be. It's going to be record breaking, certainly, as well, I suspect. But yeah, it's going to be a big global event with the funeral. It's going to be an emotional day for a lot of people. But we've seen those who've stepped up to the plate just to excel brilliantly. And the thoughts of the world are going to be with the Queen, but it's also going to be with Charles, obviously the new king, who is going to be leading the procession on Monday from Westminster Hall to Westminster Abbey. It's obviously going to be a short procession as well. You're right, mate. He's just going off there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting procession nevertheless as well. It's emotional for quite a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, Zach, it's going to be a big day for everyone, and again, a somber day for the whole nation. I'm sure songs are going to be playing, well, quite emotional songs. I have to say as well, I know I'm going off subject here a bit, but if you know the artist called Sir Tom Jones, who is the current coach on The Voice, he actually sung a song last year for his wife, who sadly passed away. And I've got the song here, actually, that Sir Tom Jones sung. It was released last year, 2021. It was apparently the song in question was released in 2021. And I have the song for you here once it loads up. It is called, if I can get it up now, it was a tribute to his late wife. I Won't Crumble With You If You Fall. That was the song that he sung. And I tell you what, I mean, goodness me, listening to the Voice the other week, it moved Anne-Marie to tears massively, if you ask me that. So, yeah, I surely did feel a lot of sorrow for Tom Jones, who is getting on a lot now, but still sounding brilliant. So, yeah, I'm sure that song might be playing. I don't know, but it'll be a sorrow day for the whole country. Nevertheless, but I'm going to play for you now, guys, a video of how the Queen's death was broadcasted on the media, because I tell you what, the media outlets were surely going to be in for a rough ride when this was announced. So I'm going to play for you how the world's media interrupted broadcasts to announce the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Have a listen to this.
Questo servizio andiamo immediatamente a Londra con le immagini. Andiamo al Buckingham Palace, vediamo se riusciamo a mostrarvelo in diretta. Eccolo qua, Buckingham Palace, vediamo se non sbaglio la bandiera, eccola qui, a mezz'asta. È morta la regina Elisabetta II.
I'm sorry. Arthur, we have to pause for a moment here. Stay with us. We have got some breaking news. Sandra?
The Queen has passed away. The Queen died peacefully, the royal family says, at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. Queen Elizabeth II has died at the age of 96. John, her health in just recent weeks and months, obviously, was called into question.
Il est 20h ici à Paris, 1h de moins à Londres. Bonsoir à tous, vous êtes toujours sur France 24. Bienvenue à tous pour la suite de cette édition spéciale. C'est une page de l'histoire du Royaume-Uni, du Commonwealth et du monde qui se tourne ce soir. La reine Elisabeth II est morte à l'âge de 96 ans, dont 70 ans de règne.
Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Ich begrüße Sie zur Tagesschau. Königin Elisabeth II. Ist tot. Das teilte der Buckingham Palast in London mit. Die britische Monarchin starb im Alter von 96 Jahren auf ihrem Sommersitz Schloss Balmoral in Schottland. Ihre engsten Familienangehörigen waren bei ihr. Die Queen aus dem Hause Windsor hatte erst vor kurzem ihr 70. Thronjubiläum gefeiert. Ihre Herrschaftszeit ist damit eine der längsten der Geschichte.
So that there was the Queen's how the world media reacted to the Queen's death. I'm now going to play for you the song that, in my view, depicts all this. And this is Tom Jones with I Won't Crumble If You Fall. This was Tom Jones with I Won't Crumble With You If You Fall. And this performance certainly describes how the events of recent weeks have panned out. This song remembers our great Queen.
I will awake in the morning if you call. I'll stand beside you as long as I can. I will hold back the evening of your sun, but I won't crumble with you if you fall. I will shadow the heat of your day, and I'll drink from the sweat of your brow. I will walk to the tune of your song, but I won't crumble with you if you fall. Come walk with me and hold to my hand. Touch me, let me know I ain't here by myself. Stretch my night dreams into my day. Stop short of falling apart if I go down. I will wait in the morning if you call. I'll stand beside you as long as I can. I will hold back the evening of your sun, but I won't crumble with you if you fall.
Thank you there to Sir Tom Jones for an absolute, very absolutely emotional cover there of that song. I wouldn't usually play a song on my show, but because we are focusing a lot of our coverage again on the Queen's funeral, that song is a perfect tribute to Queen Elizabeth II. Zach, what did you make to that song that Sir Tom Jones wrote about his wife and how that depicts the Queen?
Yeah, it's a lovely song, mate. I mean, it's obviously it's related to his wife, his long-loved wife, but it relates to many ways in the Queen. There's a lot of songs that will relate to the Queen, even though it wasn't an intentional meaning. So yeah, it's a lovely song, mate.
Yeah, I think I have to say I'm lost for words, really. I just I can't imagine how the royal family must have felt, and all of us felt, when you see someone that's so iconic and so patriotic to our nation who we've lost. It is the perfect tribute, and I think that song as well that Sir Tom Jones wrote about his wife, it sums up when Elizabeth lost Philip last year, exactly how you feel when you've lost someone close to you. It's going to affect not just King Charles, but millions of people across this country. So my respects to Queen Elizabeth II tonight is long live the Queen. You are a hero to this nation. Turning away now from the latest news, as you can see, I've changed position now. Thank you for that. Of course, I'm back in my usual spot now for my show. It's time now to move on to the next part of the show and talk all about some news regarding a BBC journalist now. A former BBC journalist, should I say, Alex Bedfield now. Now, this week, it was announced that Alex Bedfield would be imprisoned for 5 years after stalking several people, including current BBC host Jeremy Vine. Of course, Jeremy Vine has a show on the BBC where he presents his view of the news. He's also the former presenter. He's presenter of Eggheads as well. You know Jeremy Vine, very popular figure on the BBC. Now, Alex Bedfield was accused of stalking Jeremy Vine and several other people. It's been announced this week that he's been put in prison for 5 years. Now, obviously, a lot of people questioned the prison sentence this week. Now, and some people have questioned it, but others have said otherwise. Now, obviously, he also used to host the Voice of Reason podcast on YouTube, where he gave his own view around the latest political news, from Liz Truss to Boris Johnson to lockdowns to Brexit to a lot of stuff. He was, in my view, known as an interesting figure on YouTube, and he's also been this guy off the camera who has been quite interested in targeting celebrities and targeting journalists in some crazy ways. Zach, what do you make to Alex Bedfield being imprisoned for these allegations that were made the other week following multiple court hearings? Oh, we've lost Zach there.
Sorry, Charlie. My thing was muted. I have to say, 5 years. I mean, plenty of witnesses come forward. It sounds well deserved. Quite frankly, that he's been given 5 years. To be honest, stalking 4 people, harassing them, giving them grief. It's the sort of person that deserves to go to prison. Quite frankly, Jeremy Vine was obviously one of the big targets. He stalked his victim by harassing them online. His trial heard he made YouTube videos about them. Understandable, posted messages on social media, sent emails, and also encouraged his followers to target them as well. And that led to harassment and stalking, basically, as they like to say. As well, he used to be presented BBC Radio Nocturne. Harassed his victim, BBC Radio presenter Bernard Spain for 9 years and spent all his followers to send him death threats. The justice said involved he was seconds away from taking his own life as a result of your conduct. You made this highly successful and confident radio presenter lose all joy in life and turn him to hell. The judge said that whilst Bedfield did not physically approach or watch the victims, the effects were damage, aka getting his followers to do things that he shouldn't have done. But yeah, intimidation, harassment, stalking, and results of death threats as well. He also was approved to present Radio Leeds. That was the one I was looking for. Right one. But nevertheless, he's rightly in prison, Charlie, I have to say, for harassment. And I'm afraid there's no excuse for what he did. I mean, whether you agree or disagree with his views, some of the stuff he did was completely appalling. He's in 5 years in prison.
Zach, he's interestingly still on YouTube, as far as I can gather. I've just gone onto his YouTube channel now. It's called Alex Bedfield, the Voice of Reason. He's said on here that his Voice of Reason will be back soon, according to a YouTube video that he put on here. the other day. He also done a phone in at Centre Parks Lose It. He's also gone in and done lots of plenty of. He's said vindication, unmitigated lockdown, the death disaster, all that kind of stuff. He's posted a lot of YouTube content. The question is, Zach, and I'm going to ask you this. Obviously, free speech is very, very important here, and obviously, people will say, "Oh, he's going to be cancelled for censorship of, say, YouTube." If YouTube say he can't produce any more videos because he's in prison, do you think changes are going to have to come to the way he does his like YouTube streaming? Because obviously he's going to be put in prison now, and obviously I don't think he's going to have access to that.
He literally won't be able to do that thing. That's the thing, Charlie. He won't be able to do it. And he says he's going to be back soon. Well, unless he's going to suddenly broadcast from prison, which is highly unlikely, then it's going to be 5 years until he's back at least. And even then, I don't think people will probably remember him or don't want him back and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, unless someone can find a different presenter for that role, he ain't returning, and that thing ain't going to return as well. As for YouTube keeping his channel up, I'm surprised, quite frankly. It should be taken down. If you're in prison for stuff you've done, it should that sort of content should be taken down, quite frankly, I'm afraid. To be fair, Charlie, not just because of censorship, but the fact that because he's in prison and he's a criminal, so he should be that channel should be taken down.
It's a very interesting news development, Zach, and he has sent videos through of. There was a video I'm going to play for you right now, where he apparently goes around and he actually said, okay, and I quote this now, that he sent a video out about like talking about interviews and stuff like that, and he goes on about talking about Jeremy Vine in one of his videos, saying like to stalk him online and stuff like that. You go onto his show, flood him with whatever comments, whatever. It was like literally there's a whole video on it on like Google of him doing that. I don't know what to say. Like it's to a point where journalists, like, you might not agree with Jeremy Vine's views, but you can't be just going around stalking people online. And I mean, it's free speech that's probably taken too far in a way. Because if you think about it, that it's a bit like when you get a BBC journalist that's being harassed trying to go out on the street doing his report on a anti-lockdown protest. It's a bit like a similar thing. And I understand his views on, I know, not having time in an interview room, saying LBC and whatever and talk radio allow you to have certain times in interviewing. Zach, what did you make when he said that?
I mean, yeah, some of the stuff obviously he did went too far, and it's been vindicated in the court of law. As for his anti-lockdown views and all that sort of thing, I don't agree with him. Quite frankly, I have the right to disagree with him that. He has the right to do that opinion. But what he doesn't have the right to do is stalk people, harass them, intimidate them, and make them feel like crap, basically. So that's why he's in prison for 5 years, because he made a lot of people feel like crap. And hopefully he takes 5 years out to reflect on what the hell he's done, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's an interesting... I'm gutted for him, but at the same time, you gotta look at the consequences of something that is taken too far. Someone like Piers Corbyn, for example, maybe a lot of people could compare him to Piers Corbyn for the views, and I don't know. There'll be interesting. Comment down below what you make of Alex Bedfield being imprisoned for stalking as well. Do you agree with the prison sentence, or do you think the judicial system in the UK needs reviewing? Moving on now to the war in Ukraine. Now entering its 7th month already. My goodness, already. Ukraine have made several gains this week in their conquest against Russia. More news, though, has emerged that we're going to get up for you right now on the latest conflict between the two countries. Should I say latest armed conflict between both countries is now underway. Here's the reports. I've got CNN up here, which is covering this development. Multiple news outlet stations as well. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other officials have said some of the 440 graves found at a mass burial site in Islam are signs of torture. Could this be, again, more Russian war crimes being committed? We saw them in Bucha a few months ago. Pretty grim indeed. US President Joe Biden met Friday with the families of Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan, 2 Americans that are jailed in Russia. After meetings in Uzbekistan this week, Russian President Vladimir Putin acknowledged concerns from both China's Xi Jinping and India's Narendra Modi about the Ukraine conflict, according to Kremlin, but he said Russia was in no hurry in his first remarks on the Ukrainian counter-offensive. Is Putin still thinking about victory? Questions on that. Also, for the first time, the defence chiefs of Finland and Sweden will attend a NATO meeting as well. And also, Ukraine claims Russians are creating retreat routes from the southern Kherson region. Zach, what do you make to the latest developments in Ukraine?
Yeah, well, let's talk about, first of all, and I think this is some of the quite shocking discovery to be about the mass graves that have been found in Izium, actually, which is closer to Kharkiv as well. I mean, goodness me. That was quite a sight. It's clear that there's been another set of war crimes that have been committed by the Russians and by the Russian Federal Security Service as well. That it's been reported that also these torture happened in Kupiansk, a city in the Kharkiv region, and obviously in Izium as well, like where that grave site is as well. A very awful grave site. This is not the first time we have actually seen a site like that. We've seen in other areas torture, horror images of bodies on the floor, and the fact that there's a grave site just shows you what the Russians have been doing to these people. It's unbelievable, sickening and shocking to us all, really. It really is at the moment to see that site. It's awful as well. It really is awful, Charlie. And it makes a horror move. On the good news side of things, though, I have to say, is the fact that the Ukrainians continue to gain. It appears they're getting ever so closer to Kherson at the moment, which is great because this is one of the cities that Russia control at the moment, and are attempting to do sham referendums there. But it appears those sort of attempts are going to be put on, not going to happen anytime soon. And if Ukraine get their way, they'll get that Kherson city back, and no sham referendum can be held right there as well. Now, I want to also mention as well something developing today, actually. And we know I've gone about environmental activists blocking things and blocking roads and all that sort of thing. Well, we may have actually seen an instance where environmental activists doing something really good, actually. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Greenpeace, the environmental group, blocked a shipment of Russian gas from unloading at a liquefied natural gas terminal in northern Finland. They are blocking Russian gas from coming into Finland. Now, actually, I think the people will be delighted to hear about that, actually, because we're no longer getting their crap from Russia. That is good. The activists demanding Zelensky stop importing Russian gas after the Russian invasion. So Greenpeace are doing actually a good job there of blocking Russian gas from coming in. I think if it was another one, let's just say British gas coming in, then I'd be less happy about that. But in any case, Russian gas being blocked is pretty good as well. And in terms of all this stuff about the war crimes potentially being as well, we've seen all these graves. I mean, it's quite clear. It looks like the EU, Czech Republic especially, have continued their efforts to call for investigation into war crime against Ukrainians, because they are definitely a lot of war crimes that are going on so far at the moment.
Yeah, Zach, it's horrendous to see, and you think right now all the issues that the Russians are facing, they're just absolutely getting nowhere. I think whatever this is the biggest mistake in the history of the world by any world leader to invade Ukraine. I'd even say it's the biggest mistake since the Nazi invasion of Poland. back in 1939 that started World War II off. I mean, Hitler chose the path of bloodshed back then. We all remember what happened. Yes, Germany did conquer countries in Europe, particularly in Eastern Europe at the time, and also Western Europe. But Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine is very different. One country that he clearly thinks is a security threat to Russia is going in the wrong direction. Zach, do you think those direct comparisons I've drawn there symbolize the Russian president's mind?
I suspect it does. I suspect it does. And it will continue to be like that for a long time, given the fact that, you know, despite the failures of the invasion of Ukraine for Russia, Putin will always have that imagination of unifying what used to be the Soviet Union, pushing it back into his own way. But it's not going to happen if you're going to end up with a failure like they have in Ukraine and end up with a lot of hell, quite frankly. It's not, it really, to be fair, is not going to work.
No, and it'll be interesting to see how China respond to Taiwan and just in general, will there be more conflicts? We don't know. Please comment down below, guys, what you make to the latest news now. Moving on to the sports news now, the sport briefing. A little bit of sports news to talk about this week. Quiet on the F1 front as well. I'm going to start by talking about IndyCar and NASCAR, the US Motor Racing Series. We'll start with NASCAR now. This weekend we go to Bristol. Last week we raced at Kansas and Bubba Wallace claiming the win, Zach. I'm not actually sure Bubba Wallace is even in the playoffs, but he won that race and looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I don't think he was in I don't think he's in the playoffs, to be fair, Charlie. I'm just going to check, but I don't think he is. I think he's a regular season driver. Just keep in mind, regular season drivers can still win races. They're just not in the final contention to win the overall championship this season. Overall, just keep that in mind as well. No, he's not in the playoff at the moment. To be fair, I don't think any of the current playoff drivers have actually won a race so far this season. No. I mean, Eric Jones won out in Darlington. He's not a playoff driver. Bubba Wallace won out last week. He's not a playoff driver. It was an eventual race. In fact, the highest placed playoff driver finish was Denny Hamlin behind in second position. But in the effect, though, it's Christopher Bell, who is currently in the lead with 2,108 points ahead of William Byron in second. Who in second position. Hamlin's actually in third position, 2,097. Now, tonight and tomorrow, they're going to be elimination of 4 drivers, Charlie, because this is the final round of the first stage of the playoffs. And the ones on the chopping block, I think, so far, my think are obviously Austin Cindric, Tyler Reddick, Daniel Suarez, and Ross Chastain, and potentially many other drivers, such as Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, all, I think, on the chopping block, to be fair, as well. We're going to go from 12 to 8 tonight, or should I say tomorrow UK time, as well. If any one of those 12 drivers win, they are getting an automatic position into the playoff. So anyone like Austin Cindric wins, he's off into the next round because he won. But none of the 12 drivers are won yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is all going to play out. It's going to be the case of who is got the most points from 8th and above and who wins. That's going to be really important because we're going to go from 12 to 8 and from after Bristol as well. But yeah, look, last week's race, Bubba Wallace winning ahead of Denny Hamlin, ahead of Christopher Bell, ahead of Alex Bowman, ahead of Truex in 5th. It's a very variety field at the moment. And tonight is the Brass Pro Stops night race. This is the Bristol on the tarmac, not the dirt, like it was early in the season. It's on the tarmac. It's much faster environment. It's going to be, I think, quite an eventful race to get in the playoff. I think we're going to see quite a lot of carnage and a few upsets tonight, I think, Charlie, as well.
Last year was Chase Elliott and I think Kevin Harvick that both came together in the race, and we all knew what happened after the race. Both drivers exactly had a brawl, and Kevin Harvick needs to win or help advance, or others falling out the race early. The 2014 champion has never been eliminated in the first round. He finished 33rd at Darlington and 36th at Kansas. So he's had a pretty difficult last couple of races. Daniel Suarez, again, 18th at Darlington, 10th at Kansas. Chase Elliott finished 36th at Darlington and 11th in Kansas. He needs 28 points to advance. Carl Larson needs 29. Christopher Bell is already guaranteed. William Byron needs to score 8 points. Now, I don't think, as William Byron even won a race this season, I don't even know that. So, he could be a dark horse in that race. We just have to wait and see what's going to happen. But so, NASCAR will continue with the Bass Pro Shops night race. We can get up for you when that race will be on in the Cup Series. That starts early hours of Sunday morning at 12:30
in the morning.
Yeah, 12:30 in the morning as well. We have the results for the other two series. The Xfinity Series race took place. Noah Gregerson winning that one in the Xfinity Series there. I'm just going to go over the results for you there. Ahead of, I appear to be Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones in second, Austin Hill fourth, Sam Mayer in fourth, and Riley Herbst there in P5 in fifth place. And as well as that, the Camping World Truck Series also raced as well. Tyler Majewski winning. Zane Smith was second. In third place, we had Parker Kligerman in third. Grant Elfiger in fourth. And fifth went the way of Matt Crafton. So very interesting race there in the Truck Series. What did you make to those two meetings?
Yeah, pretty action-packed, you have to say. Certainly in the Xfinity Series race as well, very action-packed. Noah Gragson winning out ahead of Brandon Jones. Good race overall. Pretty action-packed, as I said as well. It's been quite a few events that have happened as well. Next week, I believe, as well. Just let's actually talk about other news, Charlie, because this week we've got the calendar out for the 2023 season as well. A few notes to point out. Obviously, next season, they're going to go back to the LA Coliseum for the Clash at the beginning, which is a non-points race at the early season. Another big change, two big changes I've noticed on the calendar, Charlie. First of all, the All-Star race is going to go from Texas to North Wilkesboro. You remember that, right? Remember that in the early years, Charlie?
Yeah, Top Gear raced on an abandoned circuit once, if I remember.
Yes, it's going to go back there. I think this is going to be something because next year's NASCAR's 75th anniversary. So it's very fitting that they're going to go to North Wilkesboro as well for the All-Star race, that non-points All-Star race. That means Texas is down to one event for next season as well. Another new addition, obviously, is a new Chicago road course race on the July the 4th weekend, on July the 2nd. That is plating Road America as well. And then obviously the Daytona 500 will kick off the season on February 19th. The playoffs will kick off in Darlington on September the 3rd. And obviously Phoenix is going to be the last race of the season as well. I should point out the Xfinity Series is also going to go to Chicago as well. And in the Cup Series, I'm just trying to check. They're going to National Worldwide Technology. They're also going to Lucas Oil in Indy Road Park as well. They're also going to go to Milwaukee, interestingly, as well. I can see on this calendar that obviously the Milwaukee Mile, I think it is as well. But there's quite a few changes on the Truck Series. Next year will be well known as the Craftsman Truck Series, I should point out. Another iconic name coming back. Craftsman's going to be responsoring the Truck Series next year. So we will don't call it NASCAR Camping World next season. It's going to be the Craftsman Truck Series next year. Camping World remains for this season, but Truck Series or the Craftsman Truck Series next year as well. Just for point out, but yeah, next week we're going to go to Texas as well. I believe it's is all three racing or not?
I'm pretty sure. Let me just have a double check.
Xfinity Series are racing in Texas next weekend. The Truck Series has another week off before it goes to before it goes to Talladega on Saturday the 1st.
Yeah, lots of racing in the NASCAR series, and we'll keep an eye on the playoffs. That all starts early hours Sunday morning. Christopher Bell is already through to the last 8, I believe. It might be the last 12. I'm not entirely sure. It might be the last 12. So we've got plenty of action. I think 4 drivers will get eliminated each time, and we go to the season finale, which
12.
will be Phoenix. So yeah, last 12. Christopher Bell definitely in that one as well. I don't even know. Christopher Bell must have won a race. In order to get
I think
through.
he raced on points, I think.
Raced on points.
He was the only one that managed to get in via the points, I believe, interestingly enough. So, yeah, that was... he's done a good job overall, because that proves consistent performances are key to him getting into that playoff.
It's going to be very interesting indeed. Moving on now to IndyCar very quickly. Final round of the season. And Zach, Will Power winning the championship, despite Alex Palau taking the final race win of the season at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Will Power just managed to squeeze off others to win his second I think it's his second IndyCar championship. Overall, well done to him. Many congratulations as well. It could have been Scott Dixon that could have won it as well, but Will Power managed to just squeeze enough points out to win the championship. Alex Palou won that race. Great race for him, but it's not going to be obviously a second title for Alex Palou. It's going to be Will Power who got the second title. Well done to him. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, it's a shame because Alex Palou's season wasn't exactly the greatest. And again, I don't think McLaren had a car that was capable of challenging for the points. Romain Grosjean, my biggest disappointment of the year, colliding with so many drivers. And you got to think, Zach, what was your highlights from the IndyCar season?
Well, there's a lot of highlights. I think certainly the Marcus Ericsson winning the 500 was certainly one of them. And overall, the overall clashes this season has been pretty interesting. The Romain Grosjean rivalry has been with pretty much the whole field has been quite interesting as well. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting season. And I have to say, certain drivers been like 4 points. I mean, 4 drivers at one point in the championship with like 2-3 races to go. It's been pretty good, to be fair. It just tells you how much of a close season it has been.
Very interesting to see that. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who wins it. IndyCar will be back next year. Calendar will be updated very due soon. Moving on now to the Premier League football. A few matches taking place today, including a demolishing for Leicester. Tottenham won.
Yeah, you have to remind me.
2 at Leicester today. I mean, Tottenham won today. We also had other matches as well. In fact, we will go through the Premier League results whilst we're here because I think it's important. Obviously, there were some matches that were postponed, but we had quite a few matches back on this weekend. Fantastic to see British football back, and especially Football League matches back on. So here we go. Aston Villa 1, Southampton 0. Fulham came from behind to win 3-2 at Nottingham Forest. Man City 3, Wolves 0. Newcastle and Bournemouth was a 1-1 draw, and Tottenham 6, Leicester 2. Zach, what did you make to all the matches?
I have to start with the piggy in the middle, unfortunately. The 6-2 demolition of Leicester City. I can't believe. But surely it's a matter of time before Brendan Rodgers goes now. Come on. I mean, you can't expect to lose like 5 games on the row and still keep your job after losing 6-2. I mean, it's going to be. It was obviously a horrific defeat. It's embarrassing as a fan to watch that sort of game, to be honest, as well. It's embarrassing, quite frankly. The other results, I mean, 3-0 win for Manchester City over Wolves. Wolves have had a struggling start to the season as well. And some of the red cards today, the Nathan Collins red card on Jack Grealish was pretty much the correct decision. Quite a very high tackle from Nathan Collins on Jack Grealish in the shin pads into the stomach. Oh, that must have hurt. Very, very much deserved red card as well. And Erling Haaland is now scored 14 out of the last 10 games he's played for Manchester City. It's absolutely incredible. That boy, what a signing for Manchester City. 14 from 10, and Phil Foden was the other one as well. Jack Grealish scored in the first minute. dominant display from Man City today. Bournemouth will be happy with their performance. They don't have a permanent manager, I don't believe,
No.
and they're 1-1 against Newcastle this week as well. There's just the 2 matches on tomorrow. Obviously, like you said, some of them have actually been postponed because of the lack of police resources available to them ahead of the Queen's funeral on Monday. Some of the resources have been diverted. It means there's not the resources available for a football match to go ahead. So like stuff like Chelsea and Liverpool, which was supposed to go ahead this weekend, is off. Man United releases off, and Brighton v Palace was also originally postponed as well. I'm not for Queen funeral related reasons, but because of the RMT union strike that was supposed to go ahead today.
Oh no!
But they decided to call it off because of the Queen's death as well. But there's 2 matches on tomorrow. It's a London derby between Brentford and Arsenal at midday, at the earlier time of midday, I should point out, because they need to move the resources from that after the game to London. So pretty local for there. And then Everton v West Ham, a David Moyes reunion with his old team at Everton at 2:15 tomorrow as well. Both of that matches as well. And then next week, looking ahead, Charlie, it's the North London derby. Actually, that's going to be in 2 weeks, actually, because there's going to be no Premier League next week, actually, because we've got international football coming up ahead. So the Nation League fixtures are on. England will be taking, I think, Italy and Germany in their last 2 fixtures of the Nations League. England must win both of their matches to remain in the group or get demoted, relegated down to the lower groups. Must win for England next week in their Nation League matches. So the Premier League is off for an international break next week, and it returns Monday to Saturday, the 1st of October, with Arsenal v Spurs, the North London derby.
Yeah, we're going into October. Wow, can't believe it. It's going to be big indeed, I'm sure, for many, many people. So that's all the football news and all the sports news this week. That will be back next week. Time now. Wait a minute. Charlie's good news is back. Now, I want to talk positive news this week. I know that last week's been a bit somber. Changing the theme this week for my good news segment, focusing more on the showbiz kind of stuff this week. Because Charlie's good news is going to receive an overlay now, where we're going to be talking a little bit about showbiz. General showbiz news. This week will be the week we're going to talk about it. We're going to start off by talking about The Masked Dancer. If you have not watched... So I'm going to say this now, guys. If you have not watched The Masked Dancer, yes. If you're tuning into the Charlie Tile Show and you have not watched The Masked Dancer, please skip this segment. That will be available later on. You can rejoin us for the papers if you haven't seen The Masked Dancer. We're going to go over The Masked Dancer right now. So, Joel Dommett hosting the show in the first bit of this. And Zach, prawn cocktail this week got revealed.
Prawn cocktail indeed got revealed. I didn't actually see it, unfortunately, but I do know who got, if I take up, who got done as prawn cocktail. It was none other, if I'm correct in saying, than Stacey Dooley, Charlie, if I'm correct.
Yes.
That got revealed. And Stacey Dooley is a name I'm quite familiar with because she's hosted various shows as well. She's won Strictly Come Dancing in 2018. He's now with Kevin Clifton. He's now boyfriend. As well, she's done various documentaries for BBC Three, and hosted various other shows as well. But Stacey Dooley was indeed the prawn cocktail as well. That's a very interesting reveal, isn't it, Charlie? Very interesting reveal. Although Stacey Dooley was, kind of on the rise, and I've never sort of heard of him after a few years ago. But yeah, it was a big reveal. As Stacey Dooley was the one, revealed.
As prawn cocktail, yes.
Prawn cocktail, yummy.
Many Walkers fans will love their crisps.
I love
in my view,
cocktail.
she was the crisp flavour. That's all I can say.
Delicious.
On The Masked Dancer, we have plenty of other great masked dancers. Who can guess Picket and Post?
I want to see what that one is. Actually, I'm fascinated. It's obviously a duo of some sort. I've seen some quite interesting suggestions. I don't. Let me say something. I don't think it's Ant and Dec. I just can't. No, I can't see it being Ant and Dec. Surely. Who's the people? Not Dick and. It can't be Dick and Dom. Surely. It might be Sam and Mark potentially from CBBC. I don't know. It would be very interesting. I don't know. It could surprise us for this one, couldn't it? Yeah. I'm not sure.
I think a lot of people might even say Marvin and Rochelle. Former
Potentially,
JLS singer Marvin Humes could be on that list. Or it could be the Heart Radio Breakfast duo of Amanda Holden and Jamie Fingston. We don't know that. So your guesses can keep being peeled up for the Masked Dancer. We're going to quickly go over The Voice now. I'm going to quickly go over The Voice UK whilst we're here as well. Last few weeks of that have been really interesting. We've seen teams being filling up. Zach, what did you take away from the latest episode of The Voice and in general the series?
Yeah, interesting. Now there was a really good singer tonight, I think, from really Welsh, that unfortunately didn't make it through. He's had a very good voice as well, fit right, and none of the judges turned, unfortunately. Rather unfortunate that was the case. But yeah, there's been some good singers, I have to say, so far on The Voice this year as well. I mean, yes. I mean, Tom, obviously, we had Tom Jones singing the other week as well. I think it was really good, actually, as well. And there was also another one, Claire Cordial for Watford, with an absolute fantastic voice as well. Great voice, brilliant, singing from her as well. And I think she was impressive in many ways from what I saw.
Yeah, very interesting indeed, to say the least. So that's all Charlie's good news. We're back again next week. Time now to review the papers, probably again, mostly all Raw themed. Let's go and have a look now at a quick update on the papers, including a look at tomorrow's papers. Oh, the Daily Star goes, the truth will be soon out there as a UFO facts sneaked in a sci-fi theory. That for me is
they've gone away
paper
from that
of
one.
the week, in my own opinion. Oh, plenty of papers have come out, in fact.
There's lots of them.
Together for Granny, Sunday Telegraph. The Independent goes to Virgil, the grandchildren. Also, Truss approached crisis beggars belief. Sunday People, Virgil with love. Granny's Guard of Honor is in the Mirror. The Mail, Sunday Mail goes guarding Granny. The Observer goes for United in Sorrow, grandchildren join Virgil for Queen Elizabeth. And the Express goes with Honor our Queen with Ian R. Day. Very interesting as well. Zach, what do you make to the latest newspapers?
Yeah, let's start off with obviously the one that's been talked about the most, the Telegraph. Together for Granny. This is the photo of the Queen's 8 grandsons who took part in the 15-minute vigil silence at the Westminster Hall today, as the general public walked by as well. We should point out, obviously, that Charles did his. I think it was it yes? I think it was yes. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday. I think it was. He did his survey yesterday, but today it was the turn of the 8 grandchildren, including Prince Harry, who also took part in his military uniform, as you can see, as well. He took part in the vigil. Good to see that he has been doing that, as well as William. And I have to say, I feel sorry for the youngest one. I have to say, I really do feel sorry for the youngest one, because I imagine a lot, a lot will be going through his mind that he's doing this at such a young age, and he's having to stand there in silence for 15 minutes. Probably not easy as a kid to actually be out having to do that. The sister obviously was quite upset. But everyone, I think, commemorations, they all did their jobs and did their 15 minutes of, where were they? You could say fame, but then again, the tensions are a bit of them. Their 15 minutes of doing their job, really. as they had their head down and did the duty like the guards of remembering their their mother, and just a beautiful person. You can tell, and I looked on the faces, you can tell that the likes of William was visibly upset. Zara as well, I saw as well. Zara was pretty. They're all very upset. They're very red in the face. You could tell they were getting very emotional. It must have been very hard to sit there for 15 minutes to remember their mother in the hall with thousands with attention all on them. You got to feel sorry as well. It's the front page of the Independent as well. They're gone for the vigil of the children. Prince Harry was allowed to wear his military uniform as he joined his brother and cousins for reflection. Obviously, given that all the beef that's been going on the last few years, it's good to see that the brothers have been united in the last week, I have to say, in terms of, showing the duty, speaking to members of the public. They've been very united this week and they've been standing together. It's been great to see them put aside any differences they've had to remember them. Remember the Queen along with the rest of us. The Independent also have gone not for a political headline as well. They've also gone for a headline on Liz Truss's approach to climate change. The top scientist, the government former chief scientific survivor David King.
Yes, here we go. The man who claims the world will melt.
Age, should point out as well. He's called Liz Truss's support for fossil fuels at Oz and net zero. He calls it beggars belief. He says to the UK's effective ban a net zero target just 3 years after the world leading commitment to cut emissions. The former chief scientist has said the drive for more oil and gas production was at odds with the net zero target. It's beggar belief. What it seems to show is that leadership government does not understand the nature of the climate crisis. Plans by Energy Secretary Jacob Rees-Mogg were alarming. To be fair, he's not wrong. More oil, more gas, more shelling, more drilling, not necessary, waste of taxpayer money, and bad for the environment.
I think he also said if we don't, I think it was that he also said as well, whatever it determines the future of humanity, what we do in the next 3 to 4 years on the climate crisis. So very interesting from Sir David King there. Also, apparently wanted Britain to go in so many lockdowns on the Independence Day. So there you go. Not many things learned indeed. The Sunday people now.
The Sunday people goes for the same royal rule out. They've got pullouts, as you can probably tell, of the Queen inside ahead of the funeral. Vigil of Love, William and Harry stand united on the Queen. As like I said, they've had their differences over the years, but they've been pretty united as well. They said they were united as well. The reports, and they're pretty much on the same path regarding the Queen at the moment. They attended the vigil. The Mirror goes for obviously their black page. An image of the Queen's grandchildren holding the vigil in Westminster Hall. Around her coffin fields the Sunday Granny's Guard of Honour. Granny paid tribute to Queen Silent. I don't have to say, Charlie, look very professional, and they're very moved as well. Should point out today, and one of the things I did like as well, just not kind of relevant to the front page, was the fact that obviously William was obviously in his uniform. 12 hours ago, before that, I think it was at midday, he was out in the crowds viewing the queue. Seriously, the 16-hour queue to see the vigil, he actually greeted people along with the King in the crowd. Just absolutely brilliant, in my opinion. Absolutely brilliant that they continue to do this, and that they're greeting, they're cheering up the mood of the people in the queue by actually greeting them. It's a brilliant job. Sunday Mail. I think this is not the Daily Mail, but this is the a different Mail. I think it's the different Mail.
Yeah, some Mail on Sunday or something.
It might be. I think it's the Scottish paper, actually. Sunday Mail. Guarding Granny, a nation pays its final trip before funeral. 8 grandkids pay silent tribute. Queen Royal Bodyguard hero says his final farewell as well. Obviously, all the 8 grandsons were there. I mean, Royal Bodyguard hero, pretty much as well. Everyone who has been in front of that coffin and doing their service has been a hero, and I can't
Yeah.
believe how much you can salute them for all the work they've done over the last few days, standing in front of that. I should point out, I heard a statistic as well that those bodyguards as well are on for 6-hour shifts. I should point out, most of them are there, and they come out every 20 or so minutes just to obviously rest and then go back and go in and go
That's
out.
a long day.
It can fully say well done to everybody who stood there and done their shifts. Well done, complete. I have to say they've done amazing, protecting the Queen. We had one idiot this week, unfortunately, tried to go a bit too far with the bodyguard as well. The Observer goes for United Sorrow Grandchildren joining vigil for Queen Elizabeth as well. That's the Observer. They also go on the headline: Truss faces bruising return to political fray after funeral. They say that Liz Truss faces a baptism of fire due to warnings of mass bankruptcies. We're going to get a mini budget, I believe, a mini physical statement on Friday, outlining how much all this cost of living support is going to cost. And actually, some papers are reporting that the Treasury don't even know how much it's going to cost them, which is bad in its own right, because obviously it's going to come out of government borrowing, but we're also going to get tax cuts on top of that as well. There's going to be a lot of government borrowing that's going to happen, I have to say, and we're going to find out all these tax cuts as well. Also reporting as well that bankers' bonuses, I should point out as well, is also being considered to be scrapped. I mean, the limit on bankers' bonuses is going to apparently be scrapped. In my opinion, Charlie, that is an outright slap in the face to people who are actually suffering for the cost of living at the moment. It's an outright slap in the face. It just means more rich people getting rich and more people getting poor. It's just pathetic, really, to be honest. The Sunday Express go for honour our Queen with ER Day. Elizabeth, I think they're talking about a bank holiday for Queen Elizabeth II, a permanent one. A major campaign on the way to enshrine the memory of Queen Elizabeth with dedicated day in the national calendar. Yes, I was right there. As well, Sunday's pro, the MPs from different parties want to name a day each year to commemorate Queen Elizabeth II. I would support that as well, Charlie. In my view, I think it's important because he's up there. She's the longest reigning monarch.
Yeah.
That the fact she's on so much that I think we should have another bank holiday for Queen Elizabeth II. That'd be great, dog. That'd be just amazing commemoration as well. And the Daily Star, as you said, goes for the truth will be out there. And they're reporting there's a story about secret agents, aliens, and UFOs. Secret agents try to insert details about aliens and UFOs into a TV sci-fi series to ready the world for official revolution about life from outer space, says a Hollywood producer. I sometimes want to know about life outer space, but it makes it sound like something evil, something horrible is going to happen soon. Based on that headline, yeah, I'm not thinking about it. It's not going to happen in many years. Don't worry. That's probably about 500,000.
I have to say, NASA made a big mistake not getting their mission to the moon. So there you go.
Oh yeah, there's obviously a few problems with that, but that is the papers, Charlie, for tomorrow.
Yep, and we'll do all the paper roundups next week. Tune in during the week to various news channels for a review of the front pages for the day's headlines. Going on now to the Great British Star and Red Devils of the week. I'm going to start with my first star. This week goes to King Charles III for his huge attribution this week, going around making statements, and as well as that, showing huge dignity to lead our country. I've changed my mind on King Charles III now. I have to say, I think he's been a great monarch, in my view as well. Also getting another nomination this week is a music nomination, a very interesting one, going to Lewis Capaldi for his new song. It's called Forget Me. It topped the UK singles charts. The West Lothian singer released the new tune 2 weeks and has dedicated it to all of his enemies. He's the 25-year-old's first chart entry in almost 3 years. Lewis Capaldi gets another nomination there, music-related. Red Devils this week. Centre Parks did nearly make the cut for their U-turn. Crazy U-turn on shutting down on the bank holiday, all their holiday parks, and forcing people out. This morning get the nomination for the Red Devil of the Week. Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby. apparently trying to jump the queues to see the coffin. Absolutely outrageous. Holly Willoughby, for God's sake, COVID hypocrisy back, wearing a face mask to not try and be seen. Unbelievable. This morning has doomed to failure. They even had a spin to win segment saying they'll pay for their energy bills. Wow. And also the Red Devil goes to climate protesters who are planning on causing disruption over the Queen's bank holiday. They're my nominations this week for the Great British Stars and Red Devils. Zach, what are your nominations this week?
Right. I have to say, I'm going to give several British Stars, really. First of all, the royal family for everything they've done this week. They've done an incredible job. They've been united in so many ways, and their dedication to service over the last few days, especially the King, the Queen Consort, I say William, even say Harry on this instance as well, have all done an incredible job, and all the great grandchildren have just shown magnificent, calm service. It clearly shows you how much they love their mother so much, and they've done a lot of them really proud. They've done spectacular, and I can't really imagine how they're going to go through the next week or so now, because the funeral is ahead in 2 days. Great job there from them. I'm also going to give the British Stars to the British public, Charlie. The queue of people who've been waiting 5 miles just from one of the parks in London to all the way to Westminster Abbey for their 1 minute moment of magic. It's some dedications from hundreds of thousands of people who've gone on over to see the Queen's coffin. It's been spectacular just to see the great spirits of the British public and determination as well. It's just been absolutely fantastic. So the British public get my British Star of the Week as well, alongside the royal family. The Red Devil this week, I have to say, goes to the person who went on a stabbing match in Leicester Square this morning. I have to say,
God, that was horrendous.
There was a stabbing. There was a person decided to stab 2 officers in Leicester Square this morning. Oh, was it yesterday? I think it was.
Yeah, yesterday.
Going around stabbing officers in the streets. I mean, hideous crime and quite idiocy of what they do as well. Now, yeah, so it was a ridiculous. It's just quite frankly an act of evil, going around stabbing police officers, assaulting them. Not necessary as well, but so that's the stabber gets the Red Devil this week. And I just want to pick up on the opinion, Charlie, of obviously queue jumpers. Obviously, you may have seen Phil and Holly and several other world leaders basically get their own line. Basically, I think for Phil and Holly it was unnecessary that they even jumped the queue. I think although they're celebrities, there was plenty of others that did wait in line. David Beckham, for example, I'll give him a British Star as well for waiting 12 hours, like any other normal human being, to see the Queen's coffin, just being like a normal member of the public and queuing for 12 hours. Well done for him. In terms of the other queue jumpers, such as like the Anthony Albanese, the New Zealand Prime Minister, several others of Justin Trudeau, I can sympathise. I'm not really concerned as they're much. They're basically delicate. They're more world leaders, Charlie, to be fair. And normally world leaders will get special permission anyway. So I'm not worried about them getting ahead of the line a little bit as well. And deciding.
It's the press.
I think it's just the likes of Phil and Holly who deserve to wait, like us. I mean, yeah, they're celebrities, but come on, they're not got the name recognition like of world leaders such as Justin Trudeau, Jacinda Ardern, and all those sort of thing. Anthony Albanese, they don't have the they don't have the connection to the royals unlike them. I think it was unnecessary for Phil and Holly to be queue jumping. It's not necessary. And I say James Cleverly as well for queue jumping as well. Well, James Cleverly is an MP, so you can understand why. Theresa May didn't do queue jumping, by the way. She standed in line with the general public and decided not to queue jump. I imagine there was quite a few, actually. I remember Susanna Reid was also another one that decided not to queue jump.
And maybe some pub bosses who are planning on, if they are opening on Monday.
As well. So I think it depends really on the VIP-ness of someone. I think if it's someone like world leaders, then yeah, I'll give them. I think it's okay. But Phil and Holly, no, just unnecessary in my opinion. Could have
Yeah, well,
waited.
that's all the news for tonight. And I hope on Monday, guys, we'll have a list of things that are opening. I think some pubs will be open, places will open later on in the day, and also to let you know, Primark and other some shops are shutting their doors along with Tesco as well. Zach, quick update on the closures for and things that are open on Bank Holiday Monday.
Yeah, obviously most of the shops are going to be closed. It's up to schools' discretion, I believe, to whether they close. I believe most of them will be closed though. Obviously most shops are going to be closed as well. As you know, Centre Parks made a ridiculous decision to try and close down, kick all their visitors off for one day. That's not going to happen, thankfully. So if you've already booked there, then thankfully you're going to stay on site. But there's also quite the ridiculous situation where some hospital appointments are going to get cancelled that day in commemoration of the Queen's funeral. I mean, that's quite frankly pathetic and a bit over the top, quite frankly. Some food banks are also getting closed, which is also pathetic because the world doesn't stop. Well, people don't just not fall hungry on a Queen's funeral. I think it's quite bad. And then what else am I thinking as well? Yeah, there's some food. Oh yeah. So those who have driving lessons that day also getting called off. They're going to be moved. If you had a driving test booked that day, then you are not going to have a driving test now on the Queen's funeral. It's going to be moved to another day. That's all I know for that. I think there may well be plenty of other changes as well. But I have to say, I think it's going to be quite busy getting in and out of London on Monday because there'll be thousands of people that want to get into Westminster Abbey and just be out on the streets as well. So yeah, it's going to be the roads are going to be chaotic as well. So check your travel news as well, just in case if you want to travel into London and you're going to find it difficult to do so. But it's going to be very difficult. But so yeah, that's all I know about so far for Monday.
Yeah, keep updated. Please visit your local business and contact them if your business is open. And also check the latest news for things that are open and shut on the Monday, which is the bank holiday, 19th September. For Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, there will also be a 2-minute silence held in memory of our late Queen. That's all we got time for on the Charlie Tolhurst show tonight. We'll be back again next week for more news and conversation on the latest headlines. Take care, everyone, and good night.